With us now is Dave Rubin, who started his career backing mostly liberals and is now backing mostly conservatives, or at least Republicans. Dave Rubin's show, which we encourage people to check out, is called The Rubin Report, which you can watch on YouTube and also on Rumble. I think we've got some video of that. Dave Rubin, welcome to The Issue Is for the very first time in studio. Great to have you here.
It's a pleasure to be with you. We did try to do this in studio during COVID, but I was not allowed in the building because I was an unsullied who was unvaxxed, and I had to go back home and Skype in to do it.
There was a vaccine mandate that was put in place that day, which they didn't tell me about in advance, and the people who were brilliant enough with that idea have all been fired. So now I can say on camera, it was stupid then, and it's stupid now.
Oh, well, that's nice to hear.
But I'm still here.
I should note that I did get your mom's cookies. You still, despite not being allowed in the building, I was given your mom's cookies. She makes an incredible chocolate chip with M&M cookie situation.
Well, now you're here and it's all worth it. So let's talk about what a time, though, in politics. This historic moment. President Biden insisting that he's staying in the race. What do you think of that?
Look, the truth is something that we all know, whether we want to admit it, whether we're begrudgingly coming around to it, whether we've denied it this entire time. Joe Biden is not the Joe Biden of 4 years ago, of 10 years ago, of 20 years ago, or anything else. There is something cognitively going on there. We've all seen it. It's degraded. It's gotten worse. He's struggling to say one complete sentence. That debate, all the debate did was shine a light on it that now nobody can ignore. You know, people always talk about fake news, and one of the things that I say is, you know, people think that fake news is just the media lying about something or a headline not matching with the content of the story. To me, the most nefarious type of fake news is what the media will not report on. And it's been fairly obvious for years, even since before Joe Biden became president, that there was a cognitive problem there. To watch him on debate night was only to see without any question what most of us have known and what many of us online have been talking about, and to see the split screen, to see the gaping mouth, the confusion, you know, the inability to complete a sentence. It is now burst forth, and the mainstream media does not know what to do with it. And that's really where we're at the moment. It's a very sad moment for America, outside of politics, whether I support his policies or not.
And kind of remarkable that his team asked for that debate. They thought that he was ready for it and put him in that position to be doing that.
Yeah.
So now the question is, where does the party go from here? Biden says, I'm still running. It seems like a lot of folks in the party are saying Kamala Harris is next, if not Biden. Is Kamala Harris, in your view, a stronger nominee? Do you think she could actually get more votes than Joe Biden at this point, given everything that's happened with the debate?
It's a little hard to say because, look, nobody is excited. There were very few people that were excited about Joe Biden in the first place. The polls have bared that out for quite some time. People see what's going on at the border. They see interest rates, mortgage rates, things of that nature, right? So that's one problem that they had. Now the cognitive issue is so burst forth that it's very hard to find someone, and I'm guessing your bookers are going to have a hard time doing it going forward, to find someone that can full-throatedly and honestly support Joe Biden. Now, the question with Kamala really is, as you know, she was polling at 0 to 1% in her own party when she dropped out when she was running as a presidential candidate against Joe Biden. She called Joe Biden racist in one of the debates. She is not
she didn't call him racist. She sort of suggested that what he did was racist. Yeah.
Sure. So the point is that she does not have a huge amount of support either, and it's very clear that the party apparatus does not want her, but there isn't a mechanism really to get rid of her. So if they're able to either force Joe Biden out, which Jill Biden clearly is against, and Joe himself or whatever's left there doesn't seem to be for, but even if they're able to trigger whatever that movement would be, well, then you have to figure out a way to push her aside. Now, I will say this, for all of my frustrations with Democrats in general, and it's really unfortunate as someone that considers myself an old school liberal, I will give the devil his due here. The Democrats will do whatever they need to do. If they feel that she cannot win and Joe's out, they will find a way to get rid of the first black female potential president. They will do it, and they will put up my good friend Gavin Newsom, or they will put up Gretchen Whitmer, or it does not even matter. They will do whatever they have to do, which, by the way, is in contrast to what the Republicans did in 2015. Don't forget, Donald Trump was an insurgent. He was against the entire party. He was going after the Bush-type Republicans. But the Republicans ran their primary process as it would have been done, and he won, and they accepted the outcome.
Yeah. although this time Joe Biden was an incumbent president, which is a little different than in the past. Sometimes that hasn't always been a robust primary. But certainly, if there would have been debates, which Robert Kennedy wanted and other people wanted, maybe we would have seen that Joe Biden several months ago, and we would be having a very different conversation right now.
Sure.
So next week is the Republican National Convention. Donald Trump will have his chance to address the country from there. What do you want to hear from him?
What I'd like to hear from him is actually what we've been hearing from him, which is a pretty measured and controlled Donald Trump. You know, I thought really, although the headline, of course, from the debate was the disaster that was Biden for an hour and a half, Donald Trump was quite good. His answer on abortion was the most thoughtful, cogent answer I'd ever heard him give, and even acknowledged that what he was saying, because he was not for a national abortion ban, might hurt him with the base. It could hurt him electorally. I think he allowed Biden to kind of make the missteps, and I think that that's what we should see from Trump now. You don't have to be the braggadocious Trump. We've all seen it. We know it. We know it's within you. You know you can do that at the rallies. But if he goes up there, and assuming that he's going to announce a VP, hopefully before he gives his speech, which is at the end of the convention, if he goes up there and says, hey, the country's in a bad spot, we all know it, lists out the reasons honestly, reminds people of how good things were in the country pre-COVID, things obviously got worse after COVID. Look at the world, look at the peace that was existing in the Middle East and the peace deals there, and that Putin wasn't in Ukraine and all of those things. I think he has a very compelling case to make. So I think if he can just control some of the little birds on his shoulder that might be saying, oh, make fun of somebody or give this nickname. I think that's what people want right now, because everything's so wildly out of control. We'd like something just a little more decent, let's say.
As an old school liberal, are you concerned at all about what the Supreme Court just did, sort of expanding executive power when it comes to immunity? Some of what happened with January 6th, his comments about I am your retribution. Are you concerned at all that he might be unchecked in a second term, and that's not great?
Well, look, as a classical liberal, I believe in limited government. I believe in the individual. I don't want too much government power. I think most of the Supreme Court decisions actually scaled back some of the power of government. They're hurting some of the agencies that are kind of unaccountable and everything else. The comment about retribution and that sort of thing, that's sort of what I'm referencing in the earlier statement, which is if he can just control some of the overboard stuff, that'll be fine. What I would prefer Donald Trump to say is something that he has said instead of retribution, which is that the ultimate revenge will be success. I know a lot of people are afraid Donald Trump's going to come into office again and he's going to be angry at all of these people who say mean things about him, and he's going to go after Rachel Maddow and Whoopi Goldberg and everything else. I suspect not, and they'll be very happy he's back in office because they'll be able to continue talking about him and continue getting ratings. But what I would prefer him do is actually get the economy going, take care of the border, fix some of the problems that we have, and then people will look at him and go, maybe he wasn't that bad, maybe he wasn't Orange Hitler, and that success will be the ultimate revenge.
Last time we talked, you said you wanted Tulsi Gabbard to be VP.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like she's on the short list.
I don't know. I have no insight on who's on the short list, but I still think that would be the best choice. I think if you want to get disaffected Dems, if you want to get... Look, I'm in California, a place that I very publicly fled after the Gavin Newsom recall election.
You're back.
I live in the free state of Florida. I came back for the cookies. They were really good. But what Trump has to do right now is appeal to the people that have now seen the radicalism in the Democratic Party. If you've seen the progressive movement and you think it's authoritarian, you think it's out of control, if you don't like DEI, you don't like wokeism, you don't like all this gender confusion, if you're proud of this nation, then you really have very little to do with the current Democrat Party. Guess who also has little to do with the current Democrat Party? Tulsi Gabbard. She's no longer a Democrat.
Right. So
if you want to ease people into what could be a very wide tent conservative movement, and I think that's what Donald Trump represents, because he clearly is not some standard Republican or standard conservative, well, then you might want to take a look at someone who has left the left, so to speak. And I think that's the opportunity, as opposed to just grabbing somebody from the base, which is just red meat and doesn't necessarily bring in new people.
I know you've made very clear that you're no fan of Governor Gavin Newsom. Just recently, Governor Newsom announced that he's going to be hosting a podcast with Marshawn Lynch, the old football player, and also sort of an agent that he's worked with. That's one of his buddies, Doug Hendrickson. What do you make of that, politicking?
Well, I did not know that Gavin Newsom had solved all of the problems of California, that he had time to do a podcast. He solved all of the homelessness here in Los Angeles, that I passed many of them on the way here, or in San Francisco. Did he solve all of the drug problems? Did he solve all of the problems with people, literally over 1 million people fleeing in the last 3 years? I guess I missed the news this morning, so maybe he solved all of those problems. But this is just consistent with Gavin Newsom. Everything with Gavin Newsom is about Gavin Newsom. He is waiting and praying that something happens to Joe Biden. It's obvious. It's why he was at the debate. It's why he's at the stump right now. He's pretending to be for Biden because you want to cozy up as you're actually stabbing the guy in the back. Everyone knows it. Everyone sees him. He is a lizard person.
He, of course, says that he's totally for Biden and has never, ever thought about ever
No, and
running
he
for
seems
president.
he seems like a pretty authentic person, and I would take his word for it. Yeah,
that's what he says.
Yeah.
We're talking with Dave Rubin right now, the host of the Rubin Report, and you've had this really interesting journey, starting as a classic liberal, somebody who worked with the Young Turks, talked on the left, and then had moved more towards the right, big Ron DeSantis guy, and I know you were already headed that way, but it seems like COVID really took it up another notch. Can you talk a little bit about your journey?
Oh, sure. It really did. I mean, I was definitely heading in that direction, really leaning on limited government and that you should make some decisions about your own life. These were the ideas that I was talking about on my show all the time. And then when you and I got to know each other a couple of years ago because of COVID and because I started very vocally talking about the lockdowns and the ridiculousness of masks and that 15 days to slow the spread, by day 16, I knew something was wrong because I was watching TV and every commercial was talking about the new normal. And I thought, what do you mean? We were told 15 days and now we're talking about the new normal. And then to see that in places, I lived here in Los Angeles, that, you had outdoor eating for 3 days. And then the woman, Sheila Kuhl, I think was the woman's name here in Los Angeles, who was the city supervisor, county supervisor, who literally voted to close outdoor restaurants, but then went to an outdoor restaurant at Santa Monica knowing that you still had a few hours to eat outside. So she didn't even believe in it. That's where I signed the Gavin Newsom recall for the first time. And what was most interesting about that was most of the people that I met at those rallies, they were not Republicans. They weren't even political. They were disaffected people they were business owners. They were restaurant owners. They were people who had just been mugged by the reality of the draconian lockdowns of locking down the beach that Gavin Newsom did and the rest of it. And I can tell you this very clearly, having moved to Florida, where now there's this huge influx of people from California, and the original Floridians, the OG Floridians are always worried, right? They're going, oh man, why are you all coming here? You're going to vote the wrong way and ruin this too. Everyone I meet, but particularly the Californians, are very clear on saying they are now Republicans. And the numbers prove that out, too, because when DeSantis took over in Florida, there were 300,000 more Democrats than Republicans. As of this week, there are 1.2 million more registered Republicans than Democrats.
I mean, that was the ultimate swing state. You think about 2000, Florida, and now it is not even in the conversation. It is a solid red state.
The Democrats have conceded it already.
Conceded and moved on, and also sort of happened in Ohio as well. Let's also talk a little bit more about you. You're a dad, relatively new dad. Right?
I got 2 kids running at home. They're little humans. They run around and do all kinds of crazy stuff.
How has fatherhood changed you?
Oh my, I'm better at talking about politics than about my personal life, but how does it change you? Look, I think that I've learned that there is way more out there beyond just me and my needs and all of those things, and we all kind of know that intellectually, but when you wake up every day and there are these 2 little humans there that you can hopefully, if you do it right, fill up with enough good ideas and good stuff and the right lessons that they will go out there and do amazing things in the world. And I know we don't have the most traditional family by any stretch of the imagination, but I think families come in all different shapes and sizes and stripes and colors, and I think if you give goodness and good values to a child and you give them a chance to climb up a tree and maybe have that branch break and scratch their knee and all of that stuff, that hopefully that some of the stuff that guys like you and I are always talking about all the political stuff, hopefully that can be solved by by solving other issues that aren't political, meaning get a good group of citizens out there who have been taught the right things. And that's why another reason that when I moved to Florida, I became so involved with DeSantis was I saw him fighting to get wokeness out of schools. And I suddenly had 2 kids, and I was thinking, would I ever want my kid to go to school and be taught that he's not the gender that he was born, or be taught that America was bad, or that he's bad just because he has white skin, or any of these things. So I think it made a lot of the things that I talk about sort of at the idea level, it made them much more personal. And I think that that's made me a better broadcaster. It certainly made me a better person.
And something else you guys do as a family that's interesting is you go off the grid, right? Every August for an entire month.
This is it.
Where
One
you
month.
say, I'm not weighing in on anything. I mean, talk about how that works.
So
that
literally,
is for you.
literally,
Because this August is a pretty big political month.
I will not have this thing in my pocket for a month. You know, I did this will be my 8th off the grid August. I did it the first year as a joke. It was sort of like, let me just see if I can do this and not have a phone and not pay attention to the news and not read the newspaper and not watch anything or anything else. Literally no electronics, no computer, no iPad, no nothing. And it was wonderful. I found myself walking on the beach one day and I suddenly started thinking about friends from 3rd grade that I remembered their names that I hadn't thought of in 30 years, or I would remember entire albums, songs, that every lyric of a song. And what I realized was we are just inundated with endless information, endless scrolling, which we turn into doom scrolling, only looking for negative things and all of that. And I thought, let me try this every year. And I think it's one of the things that has allowed me to stay sane in politics, because I don't have to tell you, politics and punditry, it can really make you crazy. I've watched a lot of good people kind of lose their mind.
Sure.
And I think taking that month off, it gives a little space to realize, boy, the world's kind of messed up, but it's going to go on without me one way or another. And I come back and I have fresh eyes on things. I feel like I can analyze things in a more proper way. And you know, it's literally good for the body. It's good for the mind. It's good for the spirit. And all
so,
of that
like,
stuff.
so
Yeah.
if, for example, Joe Biden is replaced as the nominee,
I will not know. Well, I will do everything I can not to know.
Wow.
I mean, you know, I literally have to avoid pizza places or gyms because they have TVs on and the rest of it. It's gotten more complex each year.
Right.
This year, I do have to say, I am more concerned this year than ever before. You know, one year I missed the Afghanistan withdrawal. That was obviously huge, but I found out about it when I got back. I think the year before John McCain passed away. There's always something, obviously. This year it feels quite literally like, oh, Donald Trump might be in jail, Joe Biden might not be the nominee, Kamala might take over and have got kicked out.
Yeah.
We could be in World War III. It's a lot, but you know, at the end of the day, what can I do about it? So I'm still going to go to the beach.
Very blissful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure going to be the lucky one.
I'm still going to be having tequila on the beach.
We do something called personal issues on this show, which is we do 30 seconds to get to know your cultural favorites, things that you're interested in right now. Here we go. First thing that comes to mind, what is your favorite TV show right now?
The Office.
Favorite movie you've seen lately?
The Mad Max, the new one, Furiosa.
Okay. Favorite book you've read lately?
Oh, God, I don't read as much as I used to. The last thing that I read was probably, oh, my God, it's been a while, 12 More Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. It's really been
Who is your favorite basketball player?
Clyde Drexler, without question.
What's your favorite way to relax?
Oh, I just put on Seinfeld and I fall asleep on the couch. That's it. That's it.
Well, Dave, thank you for coming in and sharing your views. I'm glad we got this done before August.
I'm very excited for the cookies. I can take the. I don't have to eat all the cookies right now.
Cookies.
Right?
Enjoy.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in. Best
Good
of luck
seeing
to you out there. More of The Issue Is when we come back.